lot further down the rabbit hole now, and I think I've got rid of all the rust. I'm focusing on the boot floor to start with, of the 3 layers. Boot floor, rear valance, bottom of this. If I can keep this in place as a template, get the boot floor sorted, then I can get rid of this and the boot floor becomes the template and it just keeps everything where it is. I did have sheet steel there, but it was going to end up being patchy and I just went against it. The panel, replacement panel for the rear end here was £30, just a Magnum panel, so it's aftermarket. So I ordered this, cut it down to this, done a bit more trimming, and I've ended up with this. It's not pretty here, it's just been cut roughly so it fits on. I've got primer, well through primer on the areas that are going to be sealed and I can't get into. The rest is bare metal, I'll be able to get into that once it's on. What I will say with this panel, it's awful, it's wafer thin. Compared to obviously the Heritage panels, it's obviously you're saving on price, but this in particular is really thin compared to what the boot floor is. So had I known that, probably wouldn't have ordered it. Some of the other Magnum panels are quite thick. Not a great alignment, but they're thick. But this one, yeah, it's not great. It'll do the job at the moment because I want it all to be rust free, solid. I mean, it's all welded in, it will be solid, but it's flimsy. You lift that up and you can see that. So I would recommend against this. I'd recommend spending the money. For those of you that know Ed, I'm trying to keep him going, and while I'm working on other projects, so Ed will get his time where he gets a full restoration of Heritage panels, or so if I fall it before then. But this is where I'm going just now. So the plan is, this is dry now. I'm going to get this on there. I'm going to get basically the holes bolted into the holes on there. I've got clamps to clamp everything down. It'll bring this area tight, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut while it's in the car so that the boot floor matches up with this panel, and then I'm just going to basically seam weld. I'll probably not seam weld just now, I'll spot weld, but I'll tack weld it in place until I'm happy with all the other repair panels, but that's what I'm going to do just now. Again, I'm dipping in and out, I'm not covering it on camera. I've covered stuff like this before, so yeah, I'm just kind of keeping you along for the ride. So, a few more hours work for me and I'll jump back in and I'll show you where I am on the car. Got it all cut out, held in place. I just need to weld it, tack it first, and naturally, because it's the weekend, I've run out of welding gas. Not actually used the welder for a while, and yeah, it's empty, so let's put the plans on that for hold. I'll just need to move on to another part of one of these other cars just now and come back to this once the shops are open again on Monday. Frustrating. Welding gas is all topped up, and I've been getting this in place. I just need to start grinding a bit of metal and start welding. But before I do that, I'm going to get a few things out of the boot that are fire hazards. I've got a mat line at the moment. I'm going to take the battery out, and I'm going to take the fuel tank out obviously for safety reasons and for access to get in. And while I'm in here, to be honest, I may as well give the whole boot floor a spruce up. So yep, these things escalate, but while you've got the access, you may as well do it. So starting with the battery. It's another day, and it's quite a few days after. So basically, you'll see behind me the fuel tank is out. That needed to go for safety and for access, so the pipes are now secured here behind a fireproof blanket. There's nothing getting to them. I'll do a separate video on how the tank comes in case that's of use to anyone for any reason they need to take it out. So yeah, I got that out, got it all cleaned up, the battery's out. I'll put the small car mill on here to show what stage I'm at. I got new welding gas, started welding, and half an hour in I run out of welding wire. the car's trying to tell me something, it really is. So a couple of days later, and I've got another 5 kilogram spool. So it's the 0.6mm I use. I prefer that. I've tried the 0.8 before and it just seems to burn holes too easy. That's maybe just me as a welder. So yeah, I'm going to get this fitted, get some more welding. I'm trying to do it bits at a time, so I'm not putting too much heat in, and eventually it'll be done to the standard I want. Bearing in mind it's not going to be seen, but I still like it to be nice and protected for the future. So yeah, I'll go off camera again and I'll do some more work and I'll keep jumping in and out. So under the fuel tank you can see the gap here is far too big. That's my fault for cutting that when I couldn't see from above when the fuel tank was here, so that's just extra work for me. I'll need to put a patch in here, but other than more time, that's no issues. You can see I've got the clamps in here holding it in line. I need to go back in here and get rid of the paint here because I couldn't get them when the tank was on. Okay, I've got you down here because I thought it would be a better look along here, so I finished welding the floor part in. Some of the welds aren't the prettiest and there's slight pinpricks everywhere. The dilemma I'm faced was, do I fill in the pinpricks, get it looking lovely when it's all covered, or do I get the best I can and then it's going to be sealed anyway. So I've done as best as I can, or as happy as I can, based on this panel, because can you see here, it's just beautiful. This is obviously the heat in the welding that's making it distort, and when it's flapped in it will be all solid bits will be welded in. But yeah, I've kind of been forced to do it the way I'm doing it because this panel, the repair panel, it's paper thin, it's way below any standard I'm happy with full restoration. So if I can advise anything from this video, look at the panel, because this is just... You've then got the issue of welding a really thin sheet to a thicker sheet, which is the boot. So yeah, you're saving time, and because of the job I'm doing at the moment, try and keep them on the road and do it quickly, it'll do and it'll last, but it's not a permanent solution. Permanent solutions that full good for but I've got like restorations that I'm going on just now. So this is the route I'm doing it just now. I've uncovered a few more bits of rust. There's surface rust here. Hopefully polish back and treat. I'll bring the camera up and I'll show you what else I've discovered. So yeah, you can see in here where my finger is, the wheel arch is a bit bottom at the bottom. So basically I'm going to focus on the floor, finish the floor up to sort of this layer here. Once all that's done, I will then go and fix that area. Because at the moment I don't know how far back it goes. And also I've got a repair to do with this panel here, so once I've cut that panel I'll get in here with it. So yeah, just one step at a time. But what I'm going to do with the area all along here, at the moment I've got some rust treatment to try. I'll try this stuff for a change. I've usually used Q rust, but the rest of it seems to come back, so I'm going to test this. See how it is. This is just half-words. And I'll let that go off. I'm then going to put a primer in, get sealed, and then I can look at the bottom two areas I need to get ready for the valance and the closing pan is going. This is all time consuming because you need to wait in between stages. That's why I'm checking a lot of the floor and all, but relatively happy with how much I've got done. I just keep finding things around. Okay, I've done all the way in here and all the way underneath. That'll convert any rust to non-rust, whatever the technical term is. Some of you will be asking, why am I putting this on when I've just cut out all the rust and put in new metal? The reason being is that I've been doing this repair over the space probably of a few weeks, and it's been bare metal in the garage. Now although it's dry in here, it can get cold and slightly damp, so any tiny bit of surface rust that's come in over that time before I've got primer on, this will take away basically. It means that once the sealer and everything's on, there's not going to be surface rust that's then going to grow to holes underneath. And for the sake of a few minutes, I just thought it would give me a peace of mind underneath it. for what it is. So yeah, this side, underside, I'll let that dry. I need to get this cleaned off. I've got a few other bits to do in the boot. Surface rust, the same. Get it all nice and neat. I'll then get some primer down. I'll get some seam sealer down. On this side anyway, I need to do the preparation for the valance underneath. So there's no point putting sealer and stuff on until I've welded the closing panels in. And yeah, I'll come back when I'm a bit more further advanced. What I've done is I've roughly clamped the rear valance in place. I've got the closing panels attached to the rear valance just so I can line it up against the shell. That means I can go underneath, get the bit that the closing panel attaches to. Now I'll show you on the small camera in a minute, and it means I can get that smooth so it's a good surface to weld to. What I'm going to do while that's in place underneath, I'm just going to get some spray, some primer, spray underneath, that way I know which area I'm going to need to get spot on. The rest of the area of the welding I've ground down a bit, but not all the way because I don't want to start ruining good metal, and it's getting covered, so that's the only bit I need to make sure is as flat as, so I can get the good surface between the two. So I've clamped the closing brackets to the valance at the moment, means I can get in here, show you with some light, and get that surface marked up just underneath this flange here. That way this can be plug welded to there. Same on the other side. Once I get that surface ready, it means that I could get all this area sprayed under here before the valance is on and sealed, because before then you can see access here is not great. So yeah, that's the plan. Bit of prep on this before it goes on the car. Obviously have to take all the transport paint off. I'll get this side stone chipped and everything like that. I've marked on here where the closing panel will be welded to, because that'll just need weld through primer. What I'm going to do first is, because this is the magnum panel, it's got holes on either side for the fog lamp lead and the captive nuts. I don't need it on the left hand side because it's a right hand drive Mini, so I'm going to basically get rid of these holes because it's just another place for water to get into and sit. So I'm going to get these captive nuts off, and I'm going to get these 3 holes filled in with welds so it just leaves this side clear, or watertight, as much as it can be. So it's the weekend now, so I've got a bit more time to spend on Ed. I've been chipping away the last sort of week, getting paint correct, so epoxy primer on here, stone chip, all dry now. Basically the bits I can't get to, can't reach, so the underside will be painted when it's on the car. I just need to get the masking off. Now underneath this masking is the weld through primer. So when I offer it up, it's basically ready to be welded on. So I'm going to be lying on my back for a bit. I'll show you with the small camera. I've done the sealer on here. The next stage I need is to get these 2 clamped on here, get it clamped in place. I need to get these in place on here, get these welded on, take this off, then make sure I've got everything as I want underneath before I get this welded on, because that access is not great. So yeah, it's all about a methodical approach, and I feel like I'm getting there slowly. I feel under a little bit of pressure because I've only got a few weeks now till I want the car back on the road. But everything I do, I'm unearthing something else. But I will get to that point where I'm happy